Here we are, guys. Hey, it's me, Jay. We're at the 32nd edition of my Road to WrestleMania series, where I review each and every WrestleMania from 1 to 41. So, WrestleMania 32, coming to you live April the 3rd, 2016. I almost didn't see this one live. I was with Lisa that day and another friend at the Olive Garden, and I was afraid that I wouldn't make it home that night. But thanks to the WWE app and smartphones, uh, I was able to watch it on the WWE network. The first match. A lot has changed since we last left off in 2015 at WrestleMania 31. For one, the champion who left the champion that night, Seth Rollins, the future of the WWE, is now injured. So the title was put up for grabs at 2015's Survivor Series, in which Roman Reigns won it. So Roman Reigns then is the champion, and then at the urging of Triple H, Sheamus cashes in his Money in the Bank. So, okay, this is going to be another SummerSlam 2013, right? The Authority is going to screw yet another babyface, and we're going to see Roman Reigns emerge as the challenger to the Authority. Well, kind of. What ends up happening is Sheamus does win. And I remember covering this particular Survivor Series because at this time, ISIS was threatening the world. The Paris attacks that happened, the Charlie Hebdo attacks that happened earlier in the year, and ISIS was being a real menace. And there was talks that ISIS may threaten the Survivor Series 2015. That did not happen, but what did happen was Sheamus walked out the WWE champion. So now, so now But Roman, not to be deterred, Roman gains it back. Even after being attacked by Sheamus's new mates, his entourage, Wade Barrett, Rusev, Wade Barrett and Rusev, and they formed the League of Nations. I don't know. Somebody must have been reading World War One history and came up with this name. I mean, they all were from different countries: the UK, Ireland, Bulgaria. They were a foreign stable, but I don't know, the League of Nations. That seems pretty weird, especially considering the fact that the Soviet Union was kicked out of the League of Nations. So the original League of Nations, and Rusev was meant to represent Russia. So I don't know. I don't know what that was supposed to mean, but anyway, despite that, Roman Reigns regains the championship, and Vince McMahon tells him that he has to put up the championship at the Royal Rumble. So for the first time ever, the champion is going to put the title up against all the other participants at the Royal Rumble. Now, I'm like, how's this going to work? You know what I mean? How's this going to go down? Well, anyway, I had just moved. I was starting to do videos, starting to talk about, WWE at that time on my old channel. But I had to move in the beginning of 2016 to where I am now. So I wasn't able to keep a vlog of this Royal Rumble, but I did see this Royal Rumble, and to much my shock and amazement, Triple H wins this Royal Rumble, and he comes out of it as the WWE champion. So that's where we are. Roman Reigns versus Triple H at WrestleMania 32 with Triple H as the champion. So let's get into it. Lots of pre-show matches on this show. Kalisto defeats Ryback by pinfall. Ryback really fell behind like a lot. You know, in 2012 he was like the next big thing. By 26 after 2016 he'd be gone. It was the Team Total Divas: Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, Eva Marie, Natalia, and Paige defeat Team Bad and Blonde, Emma, Lana, Noah, Naomi, Summer Rae, and Tamina by submission in a 10 women's tag team match. The Usos, Jay and Jimmy, defeat the Dudley Boys by pinfalls. Yes, the Dudley Boys, or Team 3D, returned to the company in late 2015. They were basically just a nostalgia act. They were determined not to be a nostalgia act, but that's basically what they became. But this at this point, I was still on my ride. I really wasn't paying attention to the pre-show matches, but the Intercontinental Ladder match, this I was paying attention to, and this involves Kevin Owens, who just came over, the former Kevin Steen from Ring of Honor, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Sami Zayn, another guy from Ring of Honor, Sin Cara, the former Mystico from uh, Mexico, and Stardust, again, Cody Rhodes, the stupid David is here, but us again. It should have been Roman Reigns versus Triple H for the WWE title in an Orlando street fight. An Orlando street fight, yeah, that would have been cool. But it made no sense. I mean, they were in AT&T Stadium. David, an Orlando street fight wouldn't have made much sense. But I agree, it could have been a street fight. But anyway, Cody Rhodes, they stuck him with this stupid Stardust gimmick, you know. But thankfully, this will be the last time we'll be talking about him until WrestleMania 38 for a number of years, because he leaves the WWE out of frustration. The match he really wanted and why he agreed to the Stardust gimmick and even keeping the Stardust gimmick after his father passed away was that he wanted a WrestleMania match with his brother, with Goldust. You know what I mean? And they never gave it to him. You know, and that was part of his frustration. So after this, he just says, "Fuck it, I'm done," and he walks out of WWE and he starts his journey on the Indies, which would eventually lead to him in 2019 co-founding a whole new wrestling promotion, AEW, with Tony Khan, owner, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars' son. You know, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to it. Uh, Chris Jericho defeats AJ Styles by pinfall. Man, this was an awesome match. This was an awesome match. I love this match. And AJ Styles, this is the first time we're seeing him. Who is he? He was basically the franchise player of TNA. But then, you know, TNA couldn't pay him, so then he walks out of TNA, goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, revitalizes his career there as part of the stable, the Bullet Club, which takes the wrestling world by storm. And then WWE gets attention to him, and he debuts for the first time ever at the 2016 Royal Rumble. The phenomenal one, AJ Styles. But people had known, wrestling fans had known about AJ since his time in TNA. It was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Low Ki are the three godfathers of TNA wrestling. They were the guys who put the promotion on their backs and carried the promotion before Samoa Joe was there, before Kurt Angle was there, before anybody was pretty much in TNA. These guys, three guys, carried the promotion on their back, you know. League of Nations again. Alberto Del Rio, Rusev, Sheamus, and with King Barrett defeat the New Day. League of Nations sucked. I mean, it was a horrible gimmick. Like I said, what were they doing? What were they doing in the back in WWE, the writers? Yeah, we're getting there, dude. He says Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose was a huge mistake. What were they doing in the back, the writers? What were they reading? A bunch of novels about World War One. I realized that during the late 2010s, the 20 teens, a lot of World War One fiction was around because this was coming upon the 100th anniversary. It was the 100th anniversary of World War One. World War One was in 1914, from 1914 to 1918. So the 20 teens was the 100th anniversary of that. So maybe somebody in the back in WWE was reading books about World War One and decided to name this group the League of Nations. I don't know, but they sucked. They absolutely was terrible. They absolutely were a terrible team. New Day was people were starting to like New Day at this point, but what killed the momentum of New Day, I'll be honest with you guys, was and killed the momentum of all these guys was Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley coming out to beat up these guys. I mean, the legends got a huge pop, but you made the guys look like you made the newer wrestlers, look like jabronis. And then now the match that David is talking about, Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. Man, this match was terrible. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking? You know what I mean? Like, this was a huge letdown. Dean Ambrose, since leaving the Shield, he was over, right? But Brock Lesnar wasn't the opponent for him. Brock Lesnar's style didn't fit Dean Ambrose's style. Like, it was a total clash in styles, and it didn't really make much sense. And the next match didn't make much sense to me at all. The winner, Charlotte Flair with Ric Flair, coming back to WWE, defeats Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks by submission. This was a good match, and this was a good showing of the new women's division. What happened in 2015 with the WWE was this, guys. There was a match. Emma and Paige versus the Bellas. And the match didn't last even 20 seconds. It was over within mere seconds. The girls were shortchanged. And even though they had a good match, they weren't given enough time. So they released a hashtag called Give Divas a Chance. Right? Because Stephanie McMahon had congratulated Patricia Arquette on winning some kind of award and the speech that Patricia Arquette gave. So they're like, wait a minute, but you're a huge hypocrite. You're the talent that works in your company, the female talent, they don't get much of a chance. So this Give Divas a Chance hashtag started to be circulated around around WWE, around the internet. And finally WWE said, we hear you, we're listening to you, and they agreed to put it into consideration. After that, WWE began to showcase more athletic female talent, more charismatic female talent, and agreed to give the female talent much more recognition. So you started to see Natalia went over to NXT after she did that horrible farting gimmick uh, with the Great Khali, which basically buried her. She went over to NXT. She had a good match with Charlotte, right? And then you started to see Sasha Banks come out, and Becky Lynch come out, and Bailey come out, and then you had the 30-minute Iron Woman match at NXT Takeover in Brooklyn. That was a classic, and that basically changed the game between Sasha Banks and Bailey, and that made I was there for that, and that made people realize, damn, the women really got it going on. So, and you had whole arenas chanting for Sasha Banks, chanting Sasha Banks's name. They really wanted Sasha Banks. She was super over. She was Snoop Dogg's cousin. You know what I mean? And she had a great gimmick in the beginning. Fans would soon turn on her, but she had a good gimmick in the beginning. So going into this WrestleMania, I expected that she would walk out of WrestleMania, winning, because Snoop Dogg came out, he sang her song and everything, her theme song, Boss Time, and all that shit, right? So I'm like, okay, she's gonna win. She doesn't. They give it to Charlotte, and that would become a theme. And people say, oh, well, they gave it to Charlotte because Charlotte's been on the main roster longer. A lot of fans don't know. A lot of people that are not hardcore fans, they don't know much about NXT. Bullshit. The fact that she was accompanied by Snoop Dogg was good enough for me to say that she should have won the title. And they changed the title. We moved from now the Divas era to now the WWE Women's era. Women are called wrestlers just like the men. You know what I mean? They're superstars just like the men, not wrestlers because Vince doesn't call anybody wrestlers, but they're superstars. You know what I mean? There's no separate Divas title. Like a new title is unveiled on this show by Lita. You know what I mean? So I wanted Sasha to win. She doesn't. Next, we get to The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. Yes, Shane McMahon came back to the WWE. He's back in the WWE. He left WWE in 2009. He went to go do other things, particularly in other countries, China and everything. But on an episode of Raw, when Vince McMahon is going to present Stephanie McMahon with the Vincent James McMahon Award, you hear Shane's music. And then Shane's saying that he has something secret. He has a big secret in a lockbox that he's going to reveal at WrestleMania if he wins. And it's an opponent of his father's choosing, and the opponent that his dad chooses is The Undertaker. And again, the stipulation is that if Shane wins, he gets to reveal what's in this secret lockbox against Vince, and and also to take control of Monday Night Raw. But and also that this, if he beats The Undertaker, it will be The Undertaker's last match at WrestleMania. So, and they agree to have it in a Hell in a Cell. Now, this match, a lot of people a lot of people didn't like this match, but I did. I love the bump that Shane took from the top of the Hell in a Cell when he elbowed Undertaker. Undertaker was laying there on the announce table, and Shane just jumped up. Shane was still at this age, at this advanced age. I think he was like in his 50s now, still putting his body on the line to entertain us fans. And he hadn't been. Where was it? he hadn't been he hadn't been in active competition for years, but he came out with his sons, right? But he still impressed me. Undertaker won, so that meant that Shane didn't get control of Raw, and then Undertaker could continue to wrestle at WrestleMania. Now I don't know if this was a good decision or what, because um, the Undertaker, quote unquote, retires uh, at WrestleMania 33. The next one we'll be covering. But of course he doesn't. We'll talk about it when we get there. But and then Shane still gets control of SmackDown, as the commissioner appointed by Vince when they redo the brand split. So I mean, nothing was accomplished in this match. Complete waste. But it was a good match anyway. Way better than his match he had with freaking Braun Strowman. We'll talk about that when we get Shane's match with Braun Strowman. Now we get to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which has become a tradition in WWE since WrestleMania 30 for 2 years. This time it wasn't on the pre-show because they were launching one of Vince McMahon's pet projects. A guy that Vince McMahon was very high on and believed in and thought was going to be the next biggest star of WWE, and that's Baron Corbin. I hated this. You know what I mean? By this time, this is when I already come home, right, from the time out with my friends. And I just wanted to go to bed, man. I wanted them to get to the main event, and I wanted to go to bed because after they had the network, they let the freaking show, and we'll see this when we get to the next one. They let the freaking show go on for hours. I remember on 2017 being going to the store, and it was daylight, and then by the time I finished watching WrestleMania, it was nighttime outside. They had no consideration for the fans. This is before they did 2 nights. Now they do 2 nights, but back then it was going on forever, and I just wanted to go to bed by the time the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal went on. I didn't care anymore. But we did see a couple of surprise returns. We did see the return of Diamond Dallas Page, the return of Tatanka, and Shaquille O'Neal appearing in the Battle Royal. But ultimately, Baron Corbin won by eliminating Kane. Now, The Rock. Okay, here's another thing. By this point, this is no longer 2011. This is 5 years later, 2016. I'm tired of seeing this guy on my on TV screen. He comes out and he does nothing, right? Just a big fireworks pyro display of his name, The Rock, and him and John Cena, who's also not on the show, beat up the Wyatt family, and there's an impromptu match with Eric Rowan. And this is the shortest match on the WrestleMania series. And finally, we get to the main event. Finally, Roman Reigns defeats Triple H for the WWE Championship. This sucked, man. And the crowd destroyed Roman Reigns. I mean, here they're trying to launch him as the next big baby face. They want him because last time his father threatened to beat up WWE officials, right? Because it was set up that his son was going to beat Brock Lesnar and be the champion, but Seth Rollins, did the old switcheroo, the heist of the century, right? So Roman's father threatened people, right? This old aging Samoan is threatening to beat up everybody in WWE because his son lost a scripted fake fight, right? You know what I mean? So, Now they give it to him. Now they're trying to really launch him. He defeats the man himself, the COO of WWE, Triple H, right? But the fans hate it. They're booing him out of the arena. You know what I mean? They're so upset. 80,000 people booing this man because of him winning the WWE Championship, and it won't end. It won't end. WWE, because they're trying to make him like the next Cena. They think that he's like Cena. See, because Cena, like some fans hated Cena, some love Cena. You know, the dueling chants: Cena sucks. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. You know, like the the dueling chants. But this wasn't like that for Roman. Roman, virtually nobody liked him. Only like real little kids or like women that they thought he was attractive. Other than that, nobody really liked him. So this was a terrible show. I mean, going into it months before, we thought Ronda Rousey was going to be there because of last year's angle. You know what I mean? But she ended up in November of 2015. She ended up being, getting fucked up in the octagon, and her face was all mutilated. She was looking like Rocky Dennis in the mask and shit. You know what I mean? In that upset against Holly Holm. So Dana White wasn't going to let her come back because the whole point of it was that Ronda was going to get her revenge and win the championship back from Amanda Nunes. So she had to train, still be in the UFC and stuff. You know what I mean? So Dana wasn't going to let her do it. So we didn't get that. We thought we were going to have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. We didn't get that. Or we thought we were going to have a Shield triple threat match, and we didn't get that because of injuries. Like, there were so many people injured, and they were really scrambling to do this big show that they basically lied about, that they said was 101,000 people, and it was only 80,000. But this is not WrestleMania 3 anymore, Vince. You can't just lie and say that it was this record and it wasn't. People will check facts. So WrestleMania 32 is one of the sucky ones, in my opinion. But we move on to WrestleMania 33. And once again, like I said, WWE continues to roll with Roman Reigns, thinking that, okay, winning against Triple H didn't get it. So let's try somebody bigger than Triple H. Let's try the biggest dog in the yard, The Undertaker, and that's where we're headed to with WrestleMania 33. The Undertaker versus Roman Reigns in Orlando, Florida. With New Day as the host. New Day as the host. And my boy, Bray Wyatt, winning the Elimination Chamber. And going into WrestleMania as the champion. So join me again as I cover WrestleMania 33 live from Orlando, Florida. The biggest dog in the yard takes on Big Dog, the guy who come to call himself Big Dog, and they hate him even more after this. The saving grace of this show was Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental Championship in the ladder match. I was coming home at that time, but I was watching it a little bit. And I was pulling for Ryder because I was watching his show on the internet. He was getting over himself, right? He was hugely over that. That whole thing, right? But WWE didn't believe in him. So he finally wins one. And the crowd went crazy. I went crazy. I was pulling for Ryder. So that was the highlight of this show to me. with Zack Ryder's win of the Intercontinental Championship.